ChatGPT said, "The galaxy was big, full of stars and planets, full of life and power. The Galactic Union, made of many alien races, had ruled space for hundreds of years, explored, mapped, and controlled thousands of star systems. But one part of the galaxy always stayed empty: Sector 9. It had no signals, no ships, and no signs of life.
Nice.
Scanners showed only dead planets, cold moons, and silence. So the Union marked Sector 9 as unclaimed territory. To them, it was useless space. What they didn't know was that Sector 9 was not empty. It was silent on purpose. A small alien scout ship from the Ilari race entered the sector. They were tall, thin creatures with silver skin and long fingers. They believed knowledge was power, and they wanted to be the first to explore the empty zone. The ship landed on Earth's moon. It was quiet, dusty, cold. The aliens stepped out in suits, scanning everything. No movement, no heat, no machines. It looked like nothing had lived here for centuries. One alien commander, Rill, gave the order to build a small base. They wanted to set up a beacon and claim the sector for the Union. At first, everything was normal. The machines worked. The scans showed nothing dangerous. But after the third day, strange things began to happen. One night, their power systems went off for 2 minutes without reason. Their tools stopped working, then started again. Their camera drones showed movement, fast shadows moving across the lunar surface, but when they checked, there was nothing there. One soldier, Vec, reported hearing whispers in the dark. The others laughed at him, said maybe he needed rest. But Rill didn't laugh. He ordered a full scan of the moon again. Still, it showed nothing. Then, on the 6th day, one of the crew, Selen, went out alone to repair a sensor. She never came back. They found her helmet near a crater, cracked open, but there was no body, no blood, no footprints, just dust and silence. Now the crew was scared. Rill called for help from the Union command, but the message wouldn't send. The signal was blocked, and that's when they saw it, a shape on a nearby rock. Not natural. They went closer and found something carved deep into the stone. It was written in the Galactic Common Language, the one used across the Union. It said, "You should not have come." The crew stood in silence, reading the words again and again. Who could have written this? There were no records of life here. No contact, no messages, nothing. And yet the message was clear. It was a warning. That night, more things went wrong. Their lights flickered. The base's air systems turned off and on. One by one, their communication devices died. Rill stood in the control room, watching the security feeds. He saw movement against something walking just outside the base. He zoomed in. It looked like a figure, humanoid, but tall and thin like smoke. The image broke up before he could see more. Rill ordered all crew members to stay inside and arm themselves. But it was too late. Vec screamed from the hallway. The others ran. Found him standing alone, shaking. He said he heard someone say his name clearly in his mind, but in the alien language of his homeworld. No one else heard it. His eyes were wide with fear. Rill tried to calm him, but deep inside, even he felt that something was watching them. At 3 o'clock, the main door to the base opened by itself. They checked the logs. No one touched it.
Cold.
Wind blew inside, even though there should be no wind on the moon. And then the voice came. Not through speakers, not from outside, but inside their minds. "You are in forbidden space," it said. "Leave or be erased." Everyone heard it, clear as their own thoughts. Vec collapsed. Rill shouted for the door to close. But the damage was done. They knew now. They were not alone. Rill tried one last time to send a warning to the Union. He wrote a simple message. "Sector 9 is not empty. We woke something." He pushed the button, but the screen blinked and showed an error. The signal was still blocked. Rill stared at the message. He whispered to himself, "We were wrong. So wrong." Outside, on the moon's surface, something moved. Something old. Something angry. Hidden deep beneath the dust, old human machines began to wake up. Red lights blinked. Silent engines started. Signal. Silent for 300 years. flashed once more. Human space breached, and far away in deep space, something heard it. The silence was over. In the center of the Galactic Union, a message was received, but it was not complete. It was broken, full of noise, and then it ended. The scout team from Sector 9 had stopped sending updates. Union Command thought maybe it was a system error. But Commander Vel, a strict and careful leader of the Illyri race, was not so sure. She ordered a second team to go this time, fully armed and with stronger tech. 5 ships left for Sector 9, ready to find out what happened on Earth's moon. When they arrived, they found the first scout base empty. The lights were off. The doors were open. There were no signs of life, no bodies, no answers. But the base was not destroyed. It looked like the team had simply vanished. Their food was still on the tables. Their last log entry ended with one line, "We are not alone." Vel sent drones to scan the area again. Scans showed something strange. Under the surface of the moon, far below the rock and dust, there were tunnels, metal tunnels. Old, buried machines. But they were not alien. The machines were human. This made no sense. Humans were gone. Long ago, the Union had found records of them, wild, strong, intelligent beings who rose quickly and then disappeared. Some said they died in a great war. Others said they ran. But no one knew the truth. Now the truth was waking up. One drone found a tunnel entrance. Vel ordered a team to go in. The tunnel was dark and deep, with thick metal walls. The air inside was clean, too clean. Lights on the walls turned on by themselves as they walked. No one had touched them. The team found a room at the end of the tunnel. Inside was a large round pod. It looked like a sleeping chamber. A small human figure lay inside, still and silent. A young girl, maybe 10 years old, but her skin was pale and perfect. Her eyes were closed. She had no heartbeat, but the pod showed she was alive. Vel didn't understand. Was this a real human? Was she part of an experiment? She ordered the pod to be taken back to the ship. But the moment they touched it, the girl's eyes opened. They were bright white, glowing and human. The lights in the tunnel exploded. The walls shook. Something deep below the moon began to hum. The team ran, dragging the pod back to the surface. The girl did not move. She only stared. And then she spoke not with her mouth, but directly into their minds. Protocol 7 activated. She said, "Human defense has begun." Vel ordered everyone back to the ships. The base on the moon was locked down. But on their ship, the girl sat quietly in a holding room. Cameras watched her. She did nothing till the second night. Without warning, the lights in the ship turned red. Doors opened and closed by themselves. One by one, systems began to fail. The ship's AI froze. Then the cameras watching the girl went dark, and they turned back on. She was gone. Panic spread. Guards searched the halls. Alarms rang. But the girl moved like a ghost, no sound. No heat, no signs. A guard tried to stop her. She didn't touch him. She only looked at him and he fell, silent, like a puppet with cut strings. The girl reached the control room. She placed her hand on a panel and something inside the ship changed. A hidden signal was sent into deep space. It was not a normal signal. It was old, human, full of strange code and energy. Far above the moon, one of the Union's strongest ships waited. The moment the signal was sent, something shot out from under the moon's surface, a beam of pure red light. It hit the ship. The ship exploded in silence, broken into pieces. Nothing was left. On the moon, the girl walked back into the dark tunnel and vanished. Vel stood in shock, her strongest ship gone in seconds. One child had done this. Not a child. She was something else. Back on the surface, another strange thing was found. One of the aliens discovered a wall with carvings. It showed pictures, humans in armor, giant machines, planets burning, and words in an old, simple human language. We were not weak. We were waiting. Vel tried to send another message to Union Command, but again the signal was blocked. Time they tried to speak to the outside galaxy, the message was stopped. The silence was not a mistake. It was part of the defense. In deep space, the signal sent by the girl reached its target. A machine, floating alone in blackness, woke up. Its eyes glowed red. It spoke one line. Human space breached. Activating all units, in all across. Sector 9. Things began to move. The humans were not gone. They were asleep now. They were waking up. The Union called it a mistake, a glitch, a bad reading. But Commander Vel knew better. What she saw on that dead moon in Sector 9 was not broken tech. It was a warning. Someone or something had sent it. Back at the Union's central station, Vel stood before the High Council. They asked questions. Too many questions. But they didn't believe her answers. "You're saying it was human?" One counselor asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes," Vel said. "It called itself HDC-17. It knew we weren't human. It told us to leave." Another counselor scoffed. "That's impossible. Earth has been silent for 300 years. The last humans died during the collapse." Vel didn't blink, then explained how an Earth Defense Corps unit survived. No one had an answer. Council ordered her to stay silent. They didn't want panic. They didn't want the other species in the Union to know humans might still exist. But Vel didn't stay quiet. In secret, she pulled old records from deep archives logs from before the collapse. Some were redacted. Some were corrupted. But one name kept showing up. Project Ghost Flame. It was human. It was military. And it was classified as Planetary Defense Level Black. No one in the Union had ever broken a Level Black file. Until now, Vel knew someone who could help. She contacted an old allied Dr. Relo Then, a former tech spy, now hiding in a mining station on the edge of neutral space. When Vel arrived, Relo was already waiting. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "Found a human AI," Vel told him. "It was waiting for us. And now ships are disappearing again." Rilo went pale. "Ghost Flame woke up. You know about it?" Rilo nodded slowly. "That wasn't just a defense plan. It was Earth's last move, in case they ever needed to return." Vel leaned in. "Return? From where?" "They're all gone." Relo shook his head. "No, that's what they wanted the galaxy to believe. But Project Ghost Flame was more than hidden weapons. It was a plan to vanish." Vel didn't understand. Why would they vanish? Rilo looked her in the eye. Because they knew the galaxy would never leave them alone. Humans didn't go extinct. They went silent. Meanwhile, back in Sector 9, the machines were moving faster. Inside the hidden base, HDC-17 walked through the halls. More lights came on. More doors opened. Other units began to wake. Clones, AI cores, repair drones, all waiting for the same thing, activation. She stood in front of a deep chamber. Inside was a glowing orbit. Core of Sentinel-1. She placed her hand on the surface. A voice spoke. "Command confirmed. Ghost Flame Phase 1. Complete. Phase 2. Prepare awakening." Satellites hidden across the sector blinked online. Ancient beacons sent out signals. Not wide, not loud, just tight beams, sent to very specific points in space. Those points were marked long ago. They were not planets. They were human vaults. Each one held a secret, a ship, a crew, a person. The message was always the same. Earth lives. Wake now. Across the stars, deep inside forgotten asteroid fields, small lights began to glow. Back at the Union border, another patrol ship vanished. It didn't explode, it didn't crash, it simply stopped existing. And in its place, a message was left. Do not return. This space belongs to Earth. Commander Vel watched the message loop over and over. It wasn't aggressive, it wasn't loud, but it was clear. They're rebuilding, she whispered. Relo nodded. Damn, they've been planning for centuries. Vel turned to him. What happens if we don't stop them? Relo looked out at the stars. Then they'll remind the galaxy why it feared them in the first place. In Sector 9, a long-dead shipyard turned on. Mechanical arms moved. Old ships floated from dark hangars. Red lights glowed on their sides. Earth Defense Corps ready. From one station, a signal shot across space. Not to the Union, to other human signals forgotten, sleeping, waiting in exile. The message was short. Earth is rising. Come home. And somewhere far beyond Union space, deep in the black, someone opened their eyes. A human, not a clone, not a machine, a survivor. And they smiled. Because the signal they had waited centuries for had finally come. Human space was no longer empty. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The Union had sent explorers, then soldiers. They thought they were just entering another dead system. They were wrong. Earth was not gone. Earth was not destroyed. It had hidden itself. Now it was waking up. Commander Vel watched from her ship's window. More human ships were appearing, big, black, and silent. They didn't have flashing lights or glowing engines like Union ships. These were designed to hide, to strike from the shadows. And worse, the ships didn't show up on scanners. They were invisible until it was too late. One of Vel's officers shouted. A strange object was rising from the surface of Mars. It was a satellite, old, and full of scratches, but it powered on like new. It sent out a signal not to them, but to other machines. More lights appeared on their screens. Human technology was waking up all across the solar system. Old Earth was calling its children back. Inside the tunnels of the moon, HDC-17 wasn't alone anymore. Other clones had joined her. They looked human, but their faces were still and calm like machines. They walked in perfect steps, spoke little, and followed only one rule: protect human space. One of the clones, HDC-12, looked at a screen and said, Intruders still present. Hostile. Begin next phase. The humans had built everything long ago. Weapons under the soil. Invisible satellites above planets. Warships hidden inside asteroids. All of it powered by advanced AI and controlled from deep underground bunkers. These machines had waited for the signal, and now the signal had been given. On Earth. Far below the ruins of a city once called New Boston, an old machine turned on. It had a voice. It called itself Sentinel-1. It had been the last guardian of Earth after the final war. It was active again. It connected with every defense system across the solar system. Drones, mines, laser nets, EMP traps, all were online. A calm voice spread across all Union frequencies. It was not loud or angry. It was clear and sharp. Human territory has been violated. You have entered restricted space. This is your only warning. Vel stood frozen. She had never heard a voice like that, machine-like, but still human. She ordered her ships to retreat, but it was already too late. A Union battleship tried to turn. In less than 3 seconds, it exploded. No beam, no missile, just gone. Later they found out a stealth mine had attached to its hull hours earlier. It had waited for the order to strike. Another ship tried to jump to warp. As it powered up, it was hit with an invisible energy pulse. Its systems failed, and it drifted into the dark. Human weapons were not loud. They were quiet, deadly, unseen. Vel ordered all Union ships to stop moving. She sent a message. We surrender. We will leave. Please let us go. There was silence. Then on every ship's screen, a human face appeared. It was not real-lit. It was a digital face. A calm man with gray eyes. You are not prisoners, the face said. But you will not leave until we finish scanning your minds, systems, and ships. We must know if you are a threat. Vel's heart sank. They were not just being watched. They were being studied. Inside the moon base, HDC-17 closed her eyes. Information flowed into her brain data from the Union ships. Every word, every file, every scan. She knew what the Union knew. She knew how to stop them. The clones stood in a line. One of them asked, Should we destroy them now? HDC-17 shook her head slowly. No, that is not the human way. We fight only when we must. Let them see. Let them remember. Back in orbit, the Union fleet remained silent and still. They watched as more human warships uncloaked. Some were huge like floating cities made of black metal. Others were small, fast, and sharp like knives. All of them moved without sound. They didn't fire. They didn't speak. They were just there. Then one of them spoke. A single human voice came through. "We are not here to conquer. We are here to protect what is ours. You are not supposed to find us. Now, you must never return." Bell knew this was not a threat. It was a promise. The Union ships were finally allowed to leave. Slowly, they turned and jumped to warp, returning to their space. But they didn't feel like soldiers. They felt like survivors. As Vel looked back one last time, she saw a final image burned into space above the moon made of red laser light. This is not the beginning of war. This is the end of your reach. Human space was not empty. It was full of silence, shadows, and steel, and it had just opened its eyes. Commander Vel returned to Union space, but she was not the same. None of her crew were. They had seen something impossible. Humans still alive, still dangerous, and more powerful than anyone could imagine. The Union Council gathered quickly. Leaders from every alien race came together in the capital station, a massive city floating in the heart of their galaxy. Vel stood before them, tired and quiet. She told them everything. How the scout teams vanished, how a human clone destroyed a ship without lifting a hand, how entire machines hidden for centuries woke up at the same time. The council laughed at first. Some did not believe her. Others thought it was just old technology, nothing to fear. One leader, a thick-skinned Thalrex general, said, "So what if the humans hid? We are stronger now. If they try to fight, we will crush them." Vel looked at him with cold eyes. "You don't understand. They don't want to fight. But if we go near their space again, they will erase us. Not with armies. With silence." That made the room go quiet. One member of the council, a wise old Kyrene scholar, stood up. "But humans are extinct. History says they burned themselves in war. Are you saying they lied to the galaxy?" Vel nodded. "I think they told the truth and then left. They did not die. They disappeared. On purpose, the council was split. Some wanted to send spies to Sector 9. Some wanted to prepare for war. Others wanted peace. But none of them could agree on what to do next. While they argued, Earth was listening. On the far edge of human space, hidden satellites picked up signals from Union space. The humans knew the Union had seen too much. They would come back, curious, afraid, maybe angry, in the deep tunnels of the moon. HDC-17 and her team watched the stars. She stood in front of an old black screen showing all the active defense units. Red lights covered the solar system. One was blinking blue. That meant something new a choice. She turned to HDC-12. "The Union will return. They won't listen to warnings. You must decide. Attack first or speak again." HDC-12, always calm, said, "We follow the last command. Protect, not conquer." In a secret chamber deep under Earth, Sentinel-1 came online again. Its voice echoed through the tunnels. "Begin Operation Ghostnet." Was not an attack. It was something worse, a silent invasion of data. That night, across Union space, strange things happened. Navigation systems showed wrong star paths. Communication networks glitched for 1 second, then returned to normal. AI cores froze, then rebooted. But there were no signs of hacking. What the Union didn't know was that the humans were testing them. Seeing how fast they responded, how weak their firewalls were, what secrets they kept, and in one hidden Union lab, a scientist named Kavo made a mistake. He was studying a damaged clone body recovered from the moon. He thought it was offline. But he powered it on to run a test stand for 2 seconds. It moved. Just 2 seconds. That was enough. The clone sent a short signal. Not a message, not a voice, just a single tone. Somewhere in deep space, a machine heard it. It knew the tone. It tagged the location. HDC-17 received the data. It said only one word. Marked back in Union space, Kavo was smiling. Thought he had discovered something important. He did not know that his lab had been marked by the most dangerous system. The humans had ever built hunter protocols. These protocols were old AI drones with one purpose: remove any threat, anywhere, at any time. One of them was already moving. It didn't fly like a ship. It folded space around itself, disappearing from the human system in a blink. It arrived outside the Union. Lab station hours later, it sent no warning. It fired once, the lab station vanished, not exploded, erased. The Union was shocked. A station destroyed without a trace. No warning, no weapon trail, no enemy detected. Dust. Gone. Now they believed Commander Vell. Every council member agreed. Human space must be avoided. No ships near Sector 9, no scans. No contact. But it was too late. Earth now knew everything about the Union's leaders, weapons, and plans. The humans didn't want war, but they would be ready for it, and far beneath Earth inside the core of Sentinel-1. A countdown started. Not for attack, for return. The humans were not just defending anymore. They were planning something. Something bigger, and the Union had no idea what was coming. Far beneath Earth's surface, machines worked without rest. Silent arms moved across black floors. Sparks flew as old factories came alive again. For 300 years, these machines had been asleep, waiting for a signal. The signal had come. Inside a deep control chamber, HDC-17 stood beside the glowing core of Sentinel-1. She watched the countdown on the screen. It showed 94 days remaining. She turned to the other clones standing in perfect silence. "The Union now fears us," she said. But fear fades. One day they will return in full strength. HDC-12 nodded. "You must not wait for that day. It is time to complete the final step of Project Ghost Flame." The clones began the process. Across the solar system, human machines activated the last phase, the return plan. It was not a war plan. It was something far older, something left behind by the final human leaders before they vanished. A message to the future. One day we will need to rise again. The plan had 3 parts: defend, observe, rebuild. Defend had already started. The Union had been warned and punished. Observe was running. Human machines had quietly spread into nearby systems. They were gathering data, reading Union language, culture, and technology. Now came the final phase: rebuild. Not rebuild, Earth rebuild, humanity, in a hidden vault on Titan. Deep under frozen ice, rows of chambers opened. Inside were humans, not clones, not machines, real humans, frozen in cryosleep. Their names and records were stored in old Earth languages. Soldiers, scientists, leaders, people chosen for one job: to start again. When the time was right, that time was now. On one screen, a frozen man's face appeared. His name was Captain Elias Merrick. He had once been a top general in the Human Defense Corps. He had volunteered to sleep for 300 years. If the AI woke him, he knew Earth was in danger already. His chamber warmed slowly. Lights blinked. His heart began to beat again at the same time, back in Union space. Commander Vell was not sleeping. She had returned to her homeworld. But her dreams were full of dark ships, glowing eyes, and silent war. She sat alone in her quarters, reading the report again. Lab station destroyed. No trace of weapon. AI systems disabled in 0.003 seconds. She knew what it meant. The humans could kill without being seen. And worse, they had not attacked again. That scared her more. If they had wanted war, they would have sent fleets. But instead, they disappeared back into silence. It meant they were planning something. She opened her private logs. She wrote, "I fear we did not find the humans. I fear they allowed us to find them. Now they watch us. Now they study us. And when they return, we will not be ready." Back on Titan, Captain Merrick stood inside a bright chamber, breathing for the first time in centuries. HDC-17 was there too. "Meet him." She looked like a child, but her eyes were not young. "You were chosen," she said. Merrick looked around. "Is this Earth?" "No," she replied. "Earth is not ready yet. But it will be. Soon." Merrick looked at the map. Red lights showed old defense zones. Blue lights showed repair stations. And yellow lights showed people, humans waking up. "How many of us are left?" he asked. HDC-17 answered, 10,000, for now, but more will follow. The AI has begun cloning backup minds. It will take time, but we will rise again. Merrick stared at the stars outside, and the galaxy. They are watching. They are afraid. He smiled. Good. Let them fear. But we don't strike first. No, HDC-17 said. We only finish what others begin. On the edge of human space, a quiet drone flew into an unknown system. It carried a simple message, repeated in every Union language. Humans did not die. We waited. We watched. We learned. Now we return. Do not follow. Do not enter. This is your only warning. Back in the Union Council, leaders argued again. Some still called for peace. Others demanded war. A few said nothing they had seen. Too much. But far beyond their reach, hidden inside Earth's rebuilt satellites, something else began. A quiet signal sent deep into unexplored space, past the Union, past known maps. It was not sent to machines. It was sent to other humans, the last survivors. The ones who had escaped long ago, the ones who had vanished into dark galaxies. Now they would know Earth was rising again. The time to return had come. The Union thought they had time. Time to prepare, time to study, time to decide what to do next. But they were wrong. The humans were already moving. On a quiet asteroid near the edge of Sector 9, a group of Union scouts landed. Their goal was simple: gather fresh data and leave quickly. No noise. No conflict. But the moment they touched the surface, their ship shut down. Their suits lost power. Their weapons went cold. Then they heard the voice. You were warned. This is human space. You do not belong here. The scouts tried to run back to their ship, but it was already sinking into the rock slowly, like the ground itself was swallowing it. One by one, they vanished. No scream, no sound, nothing left behind. The Union Council received no signal. Just silence. They sent no more scouts after that, back on Earth, deep beneath the surface. Captain Elias Merrick stood before a wide display showing every hidden human base across the solar system. More cryopods were opening. Scientists, engineers, pilots, even children humans were coming back. Step by step, Merrick turned to HDC-17. How long until we are ready? She answered, 60 days. Then Earth's sky shields will activate. After that, no one enters or leaves without our command. Good, Merrick said. We won't be caught sleeping again. On Titan, massive shipyards had been reactivated. Old warships, forgotten for centuries, were being repaired by machines. New designs were also being built faster, stronger, smarter. These ships had no names yet. But when they launched, the galaxy would remember them forever in the center. Of the moon, Sentinel-1 sent out one last silent message. Not to warn, not to threaten, to announce, phase complete. Humanity has returned. In Union space, fear was growing. Worlds near Sector 9 went silent by their own choice. No one dared go close. Civilian traffic was blocked. Trade routes changed. Even the bravest captains avoided that dark part of the galaxy, now marked with a single word, human, inside the Union Council chambers. Commander Vell stood before the leaders one last time. I warned you, she said quietly. Now it's no longer a secret, it's a fact. They are back. One of the elder counselors asked, Are we in danger? Vell thought for a moment before she answered, Only if we try to stop them, another asked. Should we open talks? Vell shook her head. They don't want talks. They gave us rules. Simple ones. Stay out. Stay silent. Respect the border. The council finally agreed to lock Sector 9. A full ban. No ships. No probes. Nothing. But it was too late. From deep space, old human colonies began to answer Earth's signal. On dark planets and cold moons, other sleeping humans awoke. Some were in small groups. Some were whole cities hidden underground. One voice echoed again and again across ancient combs. Earth lives. Come home. And they came. Ships that hadn't flown in centuries launched into the black. Families who had hidden for generations now moved as one. Slowly, silently, the human network grew again out of sight, but not out of reach. The Union watched all of this, but could do nothing, because every time they tried to send a drone, it vanished. Every time they powered a scan, it failed. Every time they whispered about war, something nearby exploded without reason. No one could prove it was the humans, but no one doubted it. One day, without warning, a massive object appeared near a border system half-station, half-ship. It was covered in black metal, had no windows, and floated with no engine heat. The Union sent a message, no reply. Then the object spoke, using a voice that echoed across 100 systems. "This is the Ark. Earth is no longer hiding. The age of silence is over." From the shadows behind the Ark, hundreds of ships decloaked, human ships sold, and new, not coming. To fight, just to be seen, to remind the galaxy, "We're still here," Captain Merrick stood aboard the Ark. His voice was calm as he addressed the Union. "We do not seek war, but we will never again be weak. You thought human space was empty? You were wrong. You thought time erased us. It didn't. You thought you could enter and claim what was ours. That time is past." Across the galaxy, races whispered the same thought. The humans are back. And this time, they would never disappear again, because the greatest weapon humans had was not their ships. It was their patience. They waited, they watched, they prepared, and now it was too late to stop them. The galaxy had changed, not because of war, not because of an invasion, but because humans returned, and the galaxy now knew they could never be ignored again. From one end of space to the other, every race remembered how they once believed humans were extinct, that Earth was dead, that Sector 9 was just empty stars, and broken rocks. They were wrong. And now they were afraid to even speak the word Earth. Inside the command deck of the Ark, Captain Elias Merrick looked out at the stars. Human ships were everywhere now. They didn't march like an army. They didn't demand surrender. They simply moved into old places, moons, planets, stations, and took back what had once been theirs. Calm, silent, focused. Behind them followed science ships, builders, teachers, and settlers. They weren't just taking space, they were growing again. "We never planned to rule," Merrick said to HDC-17, standing beside him. "But they left us no choice. They watched our fall and cheered. Now they must watch us rise." HDC-17 nodded. "The galaxy is full of noise, but we learned to live in silence. That is our strength." In Union space, the Council was frozen. No new scouts had entered Sector 9. No ships returned from missions. Even whispers of spying brought mysterious accidents. Lost ships, erased. Stations, broken communications. There were no battles, just reminders. The humans didn't shout, they didn't threaten, they simply made things disappear. Vel, now no longer a fleet commander, but a high advisor, stood before the Union Council and said what no one else dared say. "We are not their enemies, but we are not their equals either." Some didn't believe her. Others wanted to rebuild military fleets. A few even talked of making weapons that could match human tech, but all their efforts failed, because human systems ran on ancient codes the Union couldn't break. Human weapons didn't show up on scanners, and human AI. It moved faster than anything they had ever seen. One council leader whispered the truth. "It's like they're always 2 steps ahead." And they were, because while the galaxy moved forward in light, humans had evolved in the shadows. Back on Earth, green was returning to the land. Forests grew again. Rivers flowed clean. Sky shields had been activated. Now no ship could enter Earth without permission. But the humans didn't just stay on Earth. They reached out. Slowly, carefully. A small team of human diplomats arrived at a neutral planet. No weapons, just messages. They met quietly with Union scientists and thinkers. Their message was simple. We do not seek power. We seek protection. It's not just for ourselves, but for the galaxy. One day, something worse than war will come. And when it does, humanity will be ready. Some didn't believe them, but others remembered the power of Earth's silence and listened. The humans began sharing select knowledge, not weapons, but cures, not engines, but clean power, not fear, but wisdom. Piece by piece, they repaired what the galaxy had broken in its pride and wars. And still they stayed in the background, watching, guiding. The Ark became not a warship, but a guardianship. It stood at the edge of Sector 9 like a gate, not to lock others out, but to protect what was behind it. A whole world reborn. Inside the Ark, Captain Merrick spoke to the growing council of humans leaders. Scientists, soldiers, and clones, like HDC-17. His voice was clear. We were forgotten. Now we are remembered. But this time we do not chase revenge. We protect what matters. We protect the future. Far beyond known space, deep sensors picked up strange signals not from humans, not from the Union. Something. Old. Something not alive, but not dead either. The signal was weak, but growing. Sentinel-1 detected it first. Didn't panic. It didn't activate weapons. It simply said, "Threat detected. Origin, unknown. Action. Prepare Phase 2. Humanity would be ready. Not just for war, for whatever came next. Because in the end, humans had become more than survivors. They were the quiet watchers, the hidden protectors, and the last warning the galaxy would ever need. From silence, they had returned. From ruin, they had rebuilt. And from the shadows, they would defend the stars forever.